Hi there, today we are going to the Elizabethtown Goodwill. I don't go to this one very often. I think I went to it maybe a couple weeks ago and did really well, and I was in the area on an errand, so I decided to stop in. I like to do that if I know where Goodwills are and I'm going to be in the area. I definitely make a point of trying to visit them because I don't get to frequent them often, and it makes sense to me. You do your errands and you get to go shopping. This is my favorite aisle in the whole store because on the right hand side they have all these figurines and vases and little doodads. Everything you could want is in this aisle. They do separate the items, it seems, by not color but by thing. So you have a basket aisle, dishes, glasses, but it's not really color coordinated. It's interesting how all of the Goodwills in the Keystone area kind of do things a little bit differently from each other, but are kind of the same. I had one of these when I was little. It kind of surprised me when the lid came off. I liked how it was orange inside, but because I think the lid was ripped off, I don't think it was a lift-off lid. Usually those are hinged. Could have been wrong now that I'm looking back at the video. Seeing if there was a brand name on these candles, and then these are the incense that you can burn. And then underneath that art or those signs was some vintage Learn Computer discs. How many of you learned to do computer with the big floppy disks? I remember that in junior high. These big, huge square floppy disks that you would put into the computer and play Oregon Trail and things like that. I don't really know much about this kind of niche, so I decided to leave that for somebody else who would get a kick out of those computer discs. And moving along and moving things to see what's underneath things, see if there's any hidden treasures. And then I spotted this ceramic hobbyist basket. I really like the colors on it. I like the splatter paint on it, that kind of mustardy chartreuse color. Then I noticed there wasn't a price tag on it, and I did put it in my cart in the hopes that maybe this Goodwill would price it for me, but nope, they don't do that anymore. They used to go in the back and give you a price tag, but now they'll take the item and either it'll go out later that day once it has a price on it or the next day. I always like looking at the Capodimonte. This is what this is. There's always chips in it, and I have picked up two big pieces before. I think they were both sets were candle holders, and I haven't listed them because, well, no, I've listed the yellow roses, but then I've picked up pink rose candle holders, and those make me nervous. I have not listed those just because they're so delicate, and I did pick them up because I was rescuing them because they didn't have a lot of chips on them. They're just so pretty. I was looking to see what this was. It was named Pauline. I was seeing who Pauline was. I think Pauline was a polar bear. And then moving on to see if there was anything exciting to find, there was this thing. I don't know if it was a pin cushion. I don't think I touched the, yeah, it was hard. That part was hard, the bonnet. So I didn't really think it was a pin cushion unless the foam had hardened over the years. On the top shelf here, I have found Mudmen, I think on my last trip. So always, don't forget to look at the top shelves. They had some unicorns, but the feel of that one reminded me that it was made in China. And then I'm touching everything. Sometimes I touch everything and sometimes I don't touch anything. But I have to flip it over to see who makes it. I bet that was pretty with the swan holding all the flowers in that arrangement. And then I am going to find this piece here. This is made in Japan. It is old. It does have chips to it. But I think it's very pretty. It has so much age to it. Look at that. Isn't that nice? There's a chip on the rim and there's a chip on the back, but they're both on the one side if I am remembering correctly. So you could turn it around. I just really thought the colors were super pretty, kind of a cottagecore look to it. So I decided to put that in my cart along with the hobbyist basket, which I won't be able to get. Spoiler alert, that dog weighed 100,000 pounds. Now we're moving on further down the same aisle. Here was a hobbyist napkin holder. That unfortunately does have a chip there to the bottom. And so I decided to put that back. This orange thing on the shelf, what do you think that orange thing is? I'm going to go back to it after I look at these cute little mugs. I don't know if it was a plant holder or a cat swing or something. Very decorative and big. I did find this, and I was thinking about picking that up because Kate from Follow That Bug is having her second Follow That Cat raid train over on Whatnot, and I'm looking for some different kind of vintage items. But after I picked it up, I decided not to get it. I do have some cat items. I'm concentrating more on vintage items. I have some cat planters left over from an auction that I went to where the lady collected Siamese cats. So I think I'm going to do okay. Let's see what else we can find here. There's a lot of stuff on the shelves. It's not super crowded, so it's easy to spot. Have you seen anything that I missed yet? Let me know. I think I did a pretty good job of looking at things over and not missing too many things. It's always bad when you are looking back at the video going, why didn't I pick that up? This was a cute little realistic turtle made out of resin. Thought that was sweet, but I decided against that. And then over to the left, there was a whole bunch of these Tender Touches figurines by Hallmark. And I know that some Hallmark sells really well, and I was not familiar with Tender Touches. So before I looked up the sold comps on them, I decided to see, what is this? A ton of bubble wrap. Wait till you see how big this thing is. They should have called them mini touches. Look how tiny it is. I'm gonna do the unveiling here. They're just little figurines. Isn't that sweet? Playing instruments. I thought it was super cute. I did look them up, and they weren't selling for huge money. There was quite a few of them. That one was out of the box on the top there. Some Hallmark items, like I said, can sell for good money, and some are just, people collect them and maybe they would add that to their collection. It was fun looking at them, but I decided to leave those on the shelf for somebody else who is looking to add to their collection of Tender Touches. You can see how many there are. These were all music related. All right, after looking at all the Tender Touches and knocking things over, I found this stained glass piece. I do like to pick up stained glass pieces from time to time, but that was missing some of the molding around the glass. These were pretty trays. And then here, this caught my eye because they're cardinals, and I know cardinals are pretty popular with people. But then look what I found. I found some golfers in the back. I felt that these were not mass-produced. They don't have a signature on them that someone made them. These two were in good shape. They might have been mass-produced, but they're made really, really well, that they don't look it, don't they? I thought it was unusual how they were golfers. They reminded me of the wooden figurines when I lived in Poland. Artists would carve wooden figurines and sell them. This guy, his club was broken. That's why I did not get him. So I decided to take a chance on these two guys. I really like them. Hold your phone or paper. Hold something. That reminds me of those other things I got. $2.99. What that would hold. So going, it's so sad. Kiwi. What he's doing. Cheers, teddies. Some more of those fascinating facts. 3-in-1 inflatable hanger. Birds. Little shelf sitters. Really cute. Oh, look, here's a baseball. Like that cow I got. It's cute. That's fun. See all the children. There's more of these. As you can see, there are things on the shelf, but just things that I didn't want to pick up for resale. This was an Avon dusting powder tin. It was only $1.99, but I decided against it and move on to the basket aisle. I like finding Longenberger baskets, especially when they are priced reasonable. I didn't find any today, but there was a nice selection of baskets. Here they are. And then I moved on to another aisle, and I found this glass dresser jar, and when I lifted the lid, it was burnt on the bottom, and I'm going to talk more about why I think that is burnt at the end of the video. Why do you think it looks burnt? It would be interesting if anybody else agrees with my theory of why I feel that was burnt on purpose. It was $2.99. There were no chips to it. I liked the design on it, and so I decided to put that in my cart. They had these canisters. I was seeing if these were Port Marion. They kind of had a Port Marion look to it, in my opinion. Kept on moving down, and I noticed that they had things in bags, which is always fun. I like that this Goodwill bundles things. There was this pair of salt and pepper shakers, and if you saw my last video, I picked up a whole bunch of salt and pepper shakers. So I am getting quite the collection of salt and pepper shakers lately. I like picking up the patterned ones, like the ones I just touched on the right, because sometimes people need a replacement for their patterns. If I come across China, I usually pick up the salt and pepper shakers, the creamer and sugar, and covered butter dishes. These owls might be more contemporary, but I thought those were cute. I liked how they were all white. And then on top of here, I thought, these look like Nippon. And sure enough, they are marked Nippon. So these are definitely antiques. There is a small chip to one of them on the top, but if you were over 100 years old, I know I would definitely have a chip if I was over 100 years old. I moved this canister and look at this. Look how beautiful this is. This is a Hall teapot. There it is on the bottom. It does have a tiny, tiny little chip to the very end of the spout. And it was stained. You can see the spout there, the little tiny chip. See how dark the spout is? Someone really, really used that and loved using it because it had a lot of tea stains to it. Now we're on the end caps here. They were actively restocking, and you're allowed to take things off of the restocking carts, but I didn't see anything there while I was there. I'm poking those because I thought they were at first just figurines, and then it turns out they were candle holders. This was cute, but there was only one. It had these little cherubs on it, and they had bagged these two cups together, and just being nosy and looking around and seeing what they have. Jenny wasn't with me, but I decided to look back at the plush aisle instead, doing a quick look to see if there's anything that popped out at me, anything old. And then if you turn the corner, now you're down the dish aisle and the clear glass aisle. And I spied this. I've been finding so many of these Hershey Kiss crystal candy dishes lately. I had just been to Ephrata before this Goodwill, and I think I found 3 of them at the Ephrata Goodwill. It seems like that this is going to be the new Egg-tastic, at least in this area. We are close to Hershey, so maybe that is why there are so many of those Hershey glass candy dishes. Isn't this bunny cute? I thought that was cute. There's some Corelle in the background there. I don't usually pick up that Corelle. I know it is popular. And then I spied some divided restaurant ware, and I was pretty excited about these. But then I noticed there's a big crack. Look, right there. I know grill plates can sell very well, so I was a little disappointed that that had a big crack. Here are all the mugs. Jenny wasn't with me, so I had free reign of picking up a mug. The joke is that I'm trying not to pick up mugs because when I first started reselling, I picked up a lot of mugs. They're so easy to ship and they're so easy to photograph. but then some of them don't sell through, and then you have a whole bunch of mugs. So I'm trying to sell through my mugs before I start buying them again, but I will if I found like a Holt Howard mug or something spectacular. I definitely would have picked it up. This was pretty, this studio art pottery piece, but I decided to leave it there. But since Jenny wasn't there, that had a chip on it. I think that's why. I did find a mug that I did buy. Don't tell her. Oh, if it's Otagiri, I might pick up an Otagiri mug. But I found this bowling mug. It's so kitschy. It's cute. And it's made in Japan. And it's old. And there's no major chips or cracks, I don't think. I just think there's some crazing and some surface wear. I thought that was sweet. So I decided to get that. But after I was looking at the other pottery mugs, I felt that was a student piece, maybe from a studio art pottery place. You know what I'm talking about. Here, this was made in Italy, but I really like my bowling mug. So after looking at the other mugs, I decided to take that one with me. Now we are moving on to the dishes. Seeing if there was anything amazing that I can find. Isn't it nice how they have them bundled together? Some places tape them, some places use rubber bands. It's interesting. They had these two Coca-Cola glasses bundled together. I thought they were super pretty. And on a bottom shelf, they had all of this china kind of, well, not kinda. They did. They had it bagged together. And I noticed that the name on the bottom said Wedgwood. And I know Wedgwood is a good name. So I decided to look up that pattern. And I didn't see anything crazy that I should grab some. And most of them were cups and either finger bowls or cream soup cups. There weren't any of the smaller pieces I had talked about earlier, salt, pepper shakers, covered butter dishes, things like that, things that would get broken. So I decided to leave those on the shelf. I picked up this dresser jar because I really like the details on it. There's flowers here. You can see it in the light. I did notice that in the store that this was burnt looking. And what I think it is that back in the day, ladies used to put soot by, holding a match or a candle to a lid, and then they would use that soot as eyeshadow or mascara. And I know that because I've been watching Erin Parsons' YouTube videos. She's a makeup artist out of California, and she's a big collector of vintage makeup containers, and her videos are really informative and interesting to learn more about vintage items like this. So that is why I think this is burnt. Could be completely wrong. Something else could have happened to it, but that was my first instinct was, oh, they were using this to make the soot. Could be wrong because this looks like a cold cream container to me, but you never know. It's still really super pretty. All right, onto the haul. Here is everything else that I picked up on this trip to Goodwill. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see ya.